All right, everyone, we should be live. Let's make sure that's actually the case over on Rumble. Of course, we will unpause and repause. Last weekend, of course, coming in and doing the poke poke. This is not exactly confusing to me. Skippy, countries with average IQ scores below 60. Unfortunately, Mali is actually on that list. And that brings me to a funny thing about my history. When I was younger, I used to make all sorts of whack-ass cartoons. I made cartoons of my dad, my mom. I made what I'm going to show you here in a moment, by the way, which I am rejuvenating, Mad Cards, among other things. The Mad Cards literally got me expelled from a school at one point. It was a very, very happy time in my life. It's hilarious. Depicted my father as being effectively a slow adult lunatic that was obsessed with the concept of going out to the sandbox and thinking that he was the dictator of an African country. And the country was Mali, actually. But he didn't know that it was called Mali. He thought it was called Gali because he was delusional. And so I always cast him off as like basically a dictatorial figure. Didn't know what the hell was going on. My mom was depicted as being a crossbreed between a raccoon and a squirrel, and would helicopter her tail around and like fly around like a helicopter and weird shit like that. I wish I still had those cartoons. But thankfully, I've begun making new ones. You're not going to get the joke. 99% of you won't understand why this is funny. So it's a labor of love sort of thing. And this is just the prototype batch, so they're not fully fleshed out, and the handwriting is not as good as it should be. And it's going to be hilarious. Can't wait to show them to you. Mulgera, good morning. I got food poisoning, not feeling well. Lol. Not sure if you mentioned this, but what do you think about the admin saying they'll withhold aid from states that boycott Israel? I oppose that generally. It is within the 10th Amendment right of a state to oppose aid for the Israelis, or from any other country for that matter. We need to not set a legal precedent where we can say, hey, the federal government is allowed to force, let's say, the state of Texas to give a bunch of money to Iran or something like that. That's how I would frame it for people that are, generally on the side of Israel. I'm neither side Israel nor Palestine. I have no problem with Jews. But if we're going to give foreign aid, we got to have one standard for each state. We don't need to have multiple standards. Dreamology. I'm stoned, so everything is funny. You should be watching Cheech and Chong, man. Mulgera also turned 26 3 days ago, so that's a thing. I'm still getting gray hairs. Christ. Well, happy birthday anyway. Trust me, nobody cares if you have a few stray grays. It means absolutely nothing. Mine's coming in more of the silvery color. I mean, sometimes it's like a cloudy gray, and sometimes it's more like a silver. It sort of depends on the person. Normally, it's blonde people that get the silvery hair. And those of us that are brunettes, we're doomed with cloudy gray. Oh my god. I don't give a shit. Skippy, leave trans and women's sports. We can win in betting. Well, I mean, yeah. The Great Awakening. I'm gassy today. Seems like everyone is getting health impacts. Anyway, we're going to talk about a few news stories here. We'll get to the sponsors first, but I thought this is funny. Denmark Zoo asks people to donate their small pets as food for captive predators. Yeah, if you're a cat or dog, you just don't want them anymore, just let them go in the enclosure and they can get, ripped apart. Apparently, this has been a thing for other zoos as well. It's not just the Danish zoo. They've done this in the Netherlands. They've done this in Germany. They've done this elsewhere, South Africa. And people, they obviously don't like the idea. Now, I look at it as, well, in nature, these creatures likely would have been ripped apart anyway. So, yeah, I mean, prefer that you euthanize them first and then simply toss them into the enclosure, and the animals can eat them. And some of them are scavengers anyway, so it doesn't really make a difference. I can understand why you would want to draw a crowd, though, by putting live animals in their coliseum-like and having other animals attack them. So yeah, we'll talk about that in more length. PBS and NPR are effectively dying. That's really, really great, by the way. 1.1 billion of funding was rescinded from them. Oops, no more propaganda for you. This is the comeuppance for PBS. Those of you fellow millennials who liked Arthur. When they canceled Arthur, I swore up and down, God damn it, I hope that you die off as a business. Well, it looks like I got my wish. I couldn't be happier, honestly, at the moment. Trump lifts veil on U.S. submarines in warning shot to Kremlin in clever repositioning move. Yeah, it's uncommon that an administration would say, hey, our submarines are here, there, and everywhere. Here's their locations. Do something about it. What the fuck are you gonna do, bitch? This is a power move by Donald Trump. By the way, something that the legacy media, by and large, is not reporting on. Why? Because it shows that Donald Trump is not Putin's bitch. He's trying to make Putin his bitch. And so, that was hilarious. The mystery of melting sea stars may finally be solved. A bacterium called, I'm going to try to pronounce this correctly, Vibrio pectinacida is causing the mass marine die-offs. Apparently, that's what they think. So, yeah. I'm going to talk about, though, this from a different perspective. They're saying, well, this is a terrible thing. Oh my god, the sea stars are dying. Well, sea stars cause immense damage to marine ecosystems. They're just too good at surviving and thriving and reproducing. And so if there's a bacterium that's capable of dealing with that, well, you might consider weaponizing that. And we're weaponizing bacteriums and viruses against our own human populations. Why not do it towards the sea stars that are destroying everything in their path? Let's see. Last beacon. Honestly, this is practically, the Zeus thing I mean, is fundamentally failure of Western powers. They need to start feeding their animals. B-list history. I refuse to go silently into the night with the internet ID stuff. Pennsylvania clankers. Come to burks.substack.com and let's organize. Good idea. Yeah, this is a big issue, actually. Last beacon. I don't see myself donating my fuzzy babies to predators. I don't know. A couple of our cats keep trying to kill me by coming around the corner right next to the basement steps when I decide to go out onto the breezeway. I'm thinking to myself, could I ship them to Denmark? I guess the Danes will eat them. Yeah. It's very funny. That's more of a funny story than anything else, honestly. The Wanderer. We love Tarl. Thank you. What up? What's going on? There was a song I was listening to earlier. What was it? Fucking, Danford. Yeah. Ugly Boy by Danford, actually. It's deaf music. DEF, by the way. Most people don't know anything about it. But it's pretty fun. It's also got Marilyn Manson as a cameo in the music video. So yeah, let's read out our sponsors really quickly. Then we'll get to the actual news. We have cultivated-mind.com, where you can get mushroom pills that I take every single morning. Your doggo will enjoy a couple of their doggo snacks too. Because apparently they must be tasty, because God, that dog was practically burrowing her muzzle in the fucking bag, and I had to withdraw it. I'm like, holy shit, you choke yourself to death. And then stared at the bag for about 30 minutes. So I think that you made a prime product. I can't taste test it. Well, I can, but I'm not going to. but it is doggo approved. So get your doggo snacks and your mushroom pills again, cultivated-mind.com. Then we have biltongusa.com. Anton has been a frequent poster on this channel, and I give him credit for that. He is a core clanker. You are officially promoted to Clanker General because you're supplying everyone with delicious meat, as well as Bovrite, Vegemite, Marmite, and a million other things. Various teas, various other goods. Stick, Sex, and Hammer tumblers, mugs, and shirts also available. Now we have jamandbean.com. We've got Jam and Bean's coffee right here. I love getting a good sniff of that. Gonna be drinking some of the tea later, some of the fireside tea, actually. So we've got the Clanker Blend. There's a bunch of other coffees. I think there's several dozen that are available. All of them are delicious. I'm just, this is the one that I chose for a reason, because it's the best according to me. And then we've got a shit ton of tea available as well. Always use code STICKS on these sites when prompted for a discount, by the way. So those are our sponsors. I'm proud to work with them. You drink a cup of coffee, have a handful of biltong, and, you down the mushroom pill with your coffee. Then you hand off a couple of snacks to your doggo. That's the way you do it. Let's see. Copium Poppies. Poop! Yeah, I'm wearing your shirt for a reason. That's what I'm talking about. Copium Poppies do it well. We appreciate the free advertising, but please wash the shirt. Lol. How do you know it wasn't washed in between wearings? I'm not a total grub, No, sometimes. Haha. Fireburn. I love tea. Lemon tea. Yeah, putting some lemon in tea is a good idea. I usually just take mine straight, honestly. Some people put cream in it, some people put lemon, some people sugar it. I never use sugar in tea. It sort of depends on the flavor profile. Like if I'm having the Yunnan Jig, which is provided by Jam and Bean, I'm not going to put anything into it. I just take that straight. If it's the ginseng or the green tea, you can adulterate it with a little bit of lemon or something like that, yeah. Mulgera, have you ever heard the black metal band Magua? They're an amazing Polish black metal band. Their Exercises in Futility album is fantastic. Haven't heard of them, but I'm thankful that I finally have. I'm gonna share that just as a joke. I love this. Apparently there was an online debate about this shit. And people were like, is it kill self or kill myself? And it's like, it's a to-do list. So the general consensus, by the way, and this is odd for Reddit, was correct, which is that the general consensus was this is perfectly fine because it's basically the Crib Notes version of what you intend to do. I just find it funny. Last speaking. Now on to the other thing of new tech exclusive of phone-free schools. And I have to agree with your nuanced stance because if I had the type of smartphone or smartphones existed in there, continue. Oh, Copium Poppies. Show the back of the shirt. Okay, just a sec. Let me take this back off. There we go. I look fucking cool with the Copium Poppies. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, you should all check out the Copium Poppies. Some really great music, actually. Sometimes you get a new band and it's like, okay, this is overrated garage trash. Not so with the Copium Poppies. Just saying. Oh, last week. Current form, a lot of bitch teachers that have iPad probably from 7th grade to 8th and 9th. Wouldn't get away with half the shit that way back then. Yeah, I know. It's like, if the teacher's gonna have a phone, then come on. Let the students have their fucking phones. Yeah, they're gonna get distracted. They were getting distracted before by Pokemon cards. They were getting distracted by sniffing glue. They were getting distracted before by making metal masks based on metal bands, actually. You know, bang your head, metal health will drive you mad. Apparently, there were a number of people who were doing that in shop class. They're kids. Fucking kids and teenagers, they're always gonna do crazy shit. Cooking Inferno, glad to see Lad T. Beacon is back. Sigilstone, however, is the true supplier of his meat to men because he's a Pepsi drinker. This is homo. Copium Poppies posted a prayer emoji. Yeah, you make some good music. Keep it up. Last Beacon. I mean, for the most part, I've had one bitch teacher when I was in junior high back in Pennsylvania, and she made my life a living hell. Speaking of bitch teachers, let's talk about my TA teacher for 4 years throughout high school. She was an asshole. Tried to berate me for having rips in my clothing, and I'm like, I'm too poor to afford new pants. So you might want to leave off, bitch. Wish I could have said it that way. Anyways, I'm going to show you some mad cards here. I haven't made these since I was in elementary school, actually. I got literally ejected from the school. Like, they literally forced me out of the school. Not just detention, not just suspension. They just literally, said, you're not coming to school anymore because we can't take any more of this. And I take a righteous victory for having accomplished this. There aren't many kids that manage to get themselves literally expelled. Not unless they do something criminal. I didn't even need to do anything criminal, though. I just made these. Because I was bored, and I would get my work done in 5 minutes where it took everyone else 50 minutes, I was constantly looking for things to do. I'm not supplied with any sort of, stimulation or anything like that. They're not giving me paper to scribble on or anything like that. And they expected me to just literally sit there and twiddle my thumbs. This was at Dolphin Brook, by the way. I can't remember if it was on the Vermont side or the New Hampshire side of the border. Dolphin Brook. They expelled me. And that's because I was making these. This is Absurd Albert. I'm going to read the backs of these cards, by the way. Facts. Eats only with his hands because he thinks cutlery is actually robots. Criminally insane. Killed a man and strangled him with his own intestines. This was my sense of humor even when I was, in the much earlier age range. We have Blundering Boris. By the way, I've signed all these cards. These prototypes I'm going to bundle up, and one lucky clanker will be able to grab them up if they want them. Totally, utterly insane. Used to be a KGB spy, but went nuts. Likes to collect vegetables that look like other things as part of his bizarre compulsions. Completely bonkers. By the way, I'm only halfway through the deck. Crazy Chris. This was always my favorite one. Oh man, when I showed a card of this to my friend Chris Barrett, he burst out laughing. He thought it was great. Always on amphetamines. Yells at motorists saying the world is ending. Schizo to the max. Once jailed for pissing on a cop car while screaming about demons. I would hand these out like candy to other people. Demented Dan. He's a little bit more messed up than some of them. Pleases himself by masturbating with animal fat. Believes that it is similar to fucking them. Collects coffee pots. Has about 200 of them. Errant Ernie. I mean, it's not supposed to make sense. That's the whole point. That's why it's funny. Inbred as much as possible. His grandpa fucked his mom, and so is his dad and grandpa at the same time. Likes to collect crayons, eats them, then has rainbow shit. Stuffs eggs in his ass. I'm having so much fun making these, you have no fucking idea. Fucked up Fred. Yeah. Makes drugs for kids. Doesn't even ask for pay. Just wants everyone high. Wants Rosie O'Donnell to fuck him with a plunger. I'm having so much fun making these, you have no idea. Gorgeous Greg. Yeah. We had to add some gay insinuations. Has AIDS and refuses to get it treated. Gives AIDS to others as often as he can. Stuffs cans of food in his asshole and has others eat them. Horrid Harold. One fucked up motherfucker. Absolute maniac. Likes to try and steal things while blaming space aliens. Fucks his food before he eats it. Burned out on benzos. Only eats soup, then pisses all day. I'm a very mature person, by the way. You may have noticed this. Insane Isaac. Believes himself to be Moses. Plays in the toilet for hours, laughing. Got beaten by other inmates in a poorly run asylum for commanding them to leave the bathroom as it was his kingdom. Jaded Joe. We haven't even started yet. Hates his corporate life. Got addicted to Dexy, then committed dog rape. I don't know why I find that so funny. On leave and still using drugs. Plans to become a gay Jewish hairstylist, like his friend Wilberg. This is an inside joke, by the way. Wilberg Breder? None of you have ever heard of that. Lunatic Larry. Addicted to 4 different drugs. White supremacist. Hates everyone. Crucifies small animals on the golf course. Pisses everywhere. And finally, we have Catatonic Ken. Now, I couldn't figure out a synonym for madness that started with a K, so I just took catatonic and I spelled it with a K. So Catatonic Ken is a little messed up, but that's okay. Falls asleep randomly. Once fell asleep on the railroad and had to be rescued. Shoves potatoes in his ass. Molests goats. I'm sorry, I just had to display those to you. I'll have the full deck ready in a few days. I'll be making some more later, I think. And once the prototype is done, I'm going to give the prototype away, in part or in whole, to people who deserve it, and then I will be making a more professionalized deck. People are like, what the fuck? Copium poppies. No, it's a thank you emoji. Well, thank you as well. Well, Gara, if you drink Pepsi, you will not see the pearly gates. I don't drink any sodas, actually. Last beacon, and I really wish I had the type of technology that we've had for the last 20 or so years, especially with high-end smartphones. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, taking the phones away from the kids, what happens if there's an emergency situation? What if the teacher gets blown away or something? The students are just supposed to sit there, twiddling their fingers together? I don't believe in that. Give them their fucking phones. They're gonna find something else to dick off about anyway, and there's nothing you can do about it. They're kids. Cooking Inferno. I piss fizzier liquid than Pepsi. Shit's always flat. Mulgara. I mean, who hasn't shoved eggs in their ass? Why else would you get chickens? Bubba Smith, 2028, California will vote on leaving the Union. They won't leave the Union. Miss Grimstock, hi Sticks, please give a shout out to a friend's new business in Stephen City, Virginia. R&H Guns on Warrior Drive next to Papa John's. Sounds cool. You can get your pizza and then you can get your guns. Mike the Wop, Clank motherfuckers. Tarl, what's the chance anybody's gonna be held accountable for the fake Russiagate nonsense? My guess is 0%. I think your guess is right. I don't think they're not gonna do jack shit. Spocko, okay, this is my kind of humor. I guess we would have been friends in elementary school. Carson 87, flip phone for kids maybe? Just let them have their smartphones. If they want to play games in class, they're probably learning more than from the class at this point anyway, so I'm not a big fan of banning phones. So yeah, Danish zoos are asking people to bring in their small pets as food, actually. You know, you got a cat you don't want? You got a dog that you fucking hate because it won't stop shitting on the couch? Well, I mean, don't get him euthanized. We'll just throw him into the Coliseum. I've been saying for years, by the way. The way to address the crime crisis in the United States, you take every violent felon and put them on a roster. Now, they don't have to participate, but they can. You have two groups. For lesser offenses, or for misdemeanor violent crimes, that would qualify too, I guess. You'd have to work it out. They go into a UFC-style match. 8 people go in. 1 person is triumphant, having beaten their 3 opponents, and then they get a commutation of their sentence. Everyone else, of course, is fucked. For capital punishment, people that are in death row or in there for life, you have 8 people go in, and only 1 comes out alive. That person then gets probation, they wear an ankle monitor, they're monitored for the rest of their life, but you've just eliminated 7 other people that you would otherwise have the taxpayers paying for. It's cheaper, it would make a shit ton of money because everyone would want to watch the Coliseum matches. And it's also humane because it's voluntary. A little bit different from ancient Rome. Cooking Inferno. Sticks, have you been following the progress of the separatist referendum in Alberta? Somewhat. Not completely. I'll have to look a little bit more into it, actually. Kina says, Sticks. You thirsty females can always message me on Twitter DM. My DMs are open for a reason. Mostly for news stories, though. The Wanderer. Sticks, the Vindex is coming. Are you familiar? Do you know? He is coming. He will save us. And those that don't make it, he will avenge. Those that stand against will be vanquished. Stand not against. Well, I've already come. So, yeah. It's going to be very interesting for a very large number of people very shortly. Very, very interesting spirituality. Yeah. Thirsty women, they can always message me. It's considered perfectly acceptable. Oh, we've got to talk about this. Holy shit. Trump actually did it. What happens to PBS and NPR now? The Corporation for Public Broadcasting had $1.1 billion funding rescinded after the Senate Appropriations Committee approved a package of spending cuts last month. Yeah, PBS and NPR, it's going to be station to station, basically, at this point. Without the centralized funding, they're kind of screwed. You're going to see most of them go down. With PBS, I occasionally enjoy listening to NPR. You know, they'll have a segment, a 10-minute segment about, like, African tea or something like that. That's kind of fun. You know, some of it's historical, some of it's related to archaeology and stuff like that. So there are redeeming qualities there. I realize that the political coverage is lopsided, but there is some programming that has a redeeming quality. With PBS, though, you canceled Arthur, and so I am your eternal enemy. I hope you go bankrupt and stop existing because you canceled one of my favorite childhood shows. As a result of this, I condemn you. And I hope that all of you lose your jobs. I think that that would be fitting and just, actually. Just saying. Cooking Inferno. Sticks, can refer you clankets to me, looking for a new girlfriend. Cooking Inferno is thirsty, females out there. You might think to talk to him. Mulgera. Oh, I don't know if you saw, but Judge Napolitano is going to be doing a live podcast at the Ron Paul event I'm going to at the 16th. It's going to be cool as hell. That does sound cool, actually. Last speaking. Oh, crap. I meant to say I've had. Mulgera. I still can't get over that Steven Crowder voiced the brain on Arthur. Yeah, that's an interesting connection, by the way. I never knew this, but apparently, thank you, Mulgera, Steven Crowder, you know, the commentator, apparently was the voice of the brain for several seasons on Arthur. They cycled out voice actors, of course, but I think that was around the golden period of Arthur when it was the best. It doesn't surprise me very much. Crowder's a talented dude. When I first saw that, I was like, wait, you mean the Steven Crowder? I didn't believe it at first. I thought that somebody was just trolling me, but it's actually true. But yes, for canceling Arthur, PBS, you are condemned to hellfire eternally. John Isnick, I'm going to have to make a video on that topic. Yes, apparently clanker, leftoids are trying to appropriate the term clanker to refer to anyone who is anti-AI. Or rather is AI and stuff like that. It's a little bit confusing at times. I'm not 100% sure. I'm going to have to look a little bit more into it. But clanker is my term, and I will not give it up lightly. Good luck to both pro and anti-AI people. Fuck yourselves. Cooking Inferno, Styx' favorite episode, Arthur's Soiled Bed Adventure. I think Tenerife, Mulgera, that's crazy, but not as talented as Styx. I like to think that I have some talent. What was my favorite episode? I think I liked the one... Well, I like the Jekyll Hyde song with the brain, which I think was actually Steven Crowder at the time, ironically. I was Jekyll, Jekyll Hyde, Hyde, Jekyll, Jekyll, Jekyll Hyde, Jekyll Hyde. I'm pretty sure that was actually him. In which case, salute to you. But my favorite episode, and I think Crowder was the voice of the brain in this one too, was the one where Arthur climbs into a landfill, if I remember correctly, and he scrapes his leg against a rusty can. And then the brain is lecturing him about tetanus and stuff, and Arthur does his typical thing where he goes into his ADHD delusions and starts dreaming about, like, white blood cells attacking, like, enemy parasites and shit like that. And then he ends up going to the doctor, and his parents are all pissed off at him. I'm pretty sure that's about the way that it went, if I remember correctly. Oh, the mail came. Good. Last speaking of AI, I've been trying to dabble in certain AI stuff, mainly AI art and AI video generation. Add music generation on Android, and I need your personal opinion. Go ahead and send me anything that you want. I've only used Grok, mainly. I know Gab has AI, but I think that's just image generation. What I would like to do is make, like, really generic music and then just put vocals over it. Keena, I got tickets to Alice Cooper for this month. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Alice Cooper still has a pretty good voice, by the way. For somebody of his goddamn age, he's kicking it. The Wanderer, I am Lucifer. Anyway, PBS is dying. Trump lifts veil on U.S. submarines and warning shot to Kremlin in clever repositioning move. Normally, it's not good to reveal the location of your troops if they're trying to be stealthy. But when you're trying to make a point, when you're trying to intimidate the enemy, it does make more sense. That appears to be what Donald Trump is doing here. He's saying, look, haha, we got all these submarines idling off your coast, on both coasts, and in the Mediterranean, and everywhere else. And they're armed with nuclear weapons. So you should probably come to the negotiating table. I have a feeling that that's what Donald Trump is trying to do. Now, like left-wingers, they're never going to give him credit. They're going to come out and say, oh my god, Donald Trump did a Geraldo Rivera and revealed troop locations to the enemy. Yeah, but there's a little bit of a difference. See, if the Russians attack a nuclear-armed submarine, that nuclear-armed submarine is going to level most of Moscow. So it's a little bit different. But they're not going to give that nuance to the public. They're not going to understand it anyway. Military strategy is something that the average person does not really understand. When you're in such a situation, you've got considerable firepower capable of pretty much completely destroying your enemy. If you're telling them where your submarines are located, because they can't really attack them anyway, it doesn't make any difference, they'll be in a different location within a few hours. When you're doing that in order to intimidate them. Russia is currently under the process of being intimidated by Donald Trump. Liberals will say, oh my god, he's giving away the troop locations. He's doing this because he loves Vladimir Putin. He's trying to undermine the U.S. military. A month from now, when no attack on U.S. troops has occurred, they will refuse to retract those reports and admit it was all part of a negotiating strategy. That's exactly what he's doing. He's given Putin a very short span of time, only a few more days actually, to come to the negotiating table and negotiate some sort of reasonable ceasefire, maybe even a peace deal or something like that. But he can't get that done unless he's allowed to intimidate the so-called enemy. I don't consider Russia my enemy, but, as far as U.S. statesmanship, it's adversarial, we'll put it that way. Same with China and multiple other nations. So, if you want to negotiate, then you have to put on a very forceful face, and this is the way that politics works over in Eurasia, generally speaking. And most Westerners don't understand this. They think that negotiation is, I walk into a boardroom, I shake your hand, and we have an amicable conversation over some tea. That's not the way that it works in that part of the world. And people in the West, they just don't fucking understand it. That's not the way that it works over there. Over there, you're more likely to bowl someone over and punch them in the face and knock down their chair. And then there's a pet bear in the corner and shit like that. This is not a stereotype. This is simply the way that things work in other parts of the world. And so Donald Trump knows this. He's been over in these countries. He's done business. That's great. Trust me, it's very lucky that we have Trump as president at this current moment in time. He knows how things work. A few others know how things work. But most people, unless they've spent a lot of time over there, they don't understand how things work. And so you have this sort of bizarre naivete, actually, among part of the population with regards to diplomacy with Eastern Europe and Russia. It's very strange, actually. Cooking Inferno. Sticks, thoughts on Kalyu? Little fucker drives me crazy. He has cancer. He's already dead. Last Beacon. Which is better, Sunor Donna or Kling or Hallyu? I don't know who any of those characters are or even what show you're referring to, actually. I think you meant Callie on that last one. I've never heard of the others. Cam2425IA. How about we just put a 90% tax on remittance? Wouldn't that stop much of the issues? It won't happen, but yeah, it would be a good thing. Mulgera, not gonna lie, I've been heavily critical of Trump's foreign policy. I haven't been a fan. He's taking way too many risky decisions. I ain't exactly a fan of the dangerous whiplash. There are mistakes being made, but keep in mind, compare it to the last 7 or 8 administrations, other than Donald Trump's first administration. Isn't he doing demonstrably better? At the very least, an attempt is being made. An attempt is made at diplomacy, an attempt is made at preventing war, an attempt is made to right ourselves on the economic scale. So overall, I would say he's doing a good job. Benjamin the Dream Wizard. I consider myself to be a composer rather than a musician in terms of my AI radio channel at Real AI Radio on YouTube and Rumble. Also, check your XDMs and let's talk. I can help you meet your goal. Yes, I have to get back to you later. Thank you. Mulgera. Also, him giving the green light for Netanyahu to fully occupy Gaza has been gross. It isn't necessarily pro-Palestine, but why the hell are we greenlighting this shit? I can't tell you why, unfortunately. Last Beacon says tetanus over and over. Yeah, so ultimately, Trump's warning shot, it is literally a warning shot. Actually, the legacy media got it right for once. The whole goal is to shock the Russians and say, look, like 17 submarines right off your coast. What are you gonna fucking do about it? You can't. We can even sail into your territorial waters. There's nothing you can do. It's extremely hot and muggy today. Like extreme heat. In fact, I think that there's a heat warning. There's definitely an air quality warning. The mystery of melting sea stars may finally be solved. A bacterium called Vibrio pectinicidia is causing the mass marine die-offs. They're not 100% sure, but that's what they believe. Apparently, starfish can turn to a pile of jelly if they're infected with this particular disease. Now, here's my thought, right? Sea stars have been causing incalculable damage to coral reefs, to other marine ecosystems. They breed out of control, they eat everything in their path, and they go crazy. Although I do remember, this was a sad day. When I was at Hampton Beach once as a kid, my mom managed to find a sea star, and she left it on the ledge to dry in the sun because she wanted the sea star. And I felt sad for the poor thing. Later on, I realized I didn't need to feel sad because it doesn't even really have a brain, but at the same time, I thought, here's a living thing being slowly dried out and tormented to death. And it died, and we still have it somewhere, I think. But anyways, starfish, they predate upon coral reefs, they predate upon certain algae and so forth. They're actually an extreme predator when you think about it. You cut off one of their legs, it doesn't give a shit. It'll just grow it back. So, with regards to this disease, I was thinking when I read this article, hey, if you were to just like, dust the ocean with this particular disease and eliminate a bunch more of them, wouldn't that protect coral reefs and shit like that? That sounds like a non-Frankenstein science project. Hey, I mean, it melts them into a pile of jelly. Why not? There's no other way to kill them. Thresh them up, see what happens. They've tried doing this with jellyfish, too. They'll put out a thresher, and they chop them into pieces, right? Whoops, now every little piece is a new jellyfish. Now you've actually increased their numbers because they're basically immortal. This seems to have happened a number of times. It's like in Vermont when they had that purple loosestrife, which now it's everywhere. They didn't stop it. They imported a beetle that tended to eat it, and they thought maybe we can fight the purple loosestrife with the beetle. And it seemed like a good idea at the time until the purple loosestrife continued and the beetle started eating other things, and the rest was history. It's a monumental failure, actually. Big booty starfish. Did Styx call my name? We were speaking of starfish. B-list history. In 4th grade, I got bored and drew boobs on a picture of Frederick Douglass in a workbook. The teacher got mad and threw the book across the room and made me do an essay on F. Doogie. Many such fun times. I think we would have been friends in school. Cam2425IA. He has been doing better than last term, or at least faster. Still not a fan of the Miriam Adelson influence of late. Yeah, generally speaking, Trump is doing better. But that doesn't mean he's going to do perfect. And he won't. There's no possibility of that. But can he do better than the first term? In which he did reasonably well anyway. Yes, absolutely. BW. Since this is Bance, I'll ask you this. Though the UK might be more important than thought, Tommy Robinson started a party because Farage has turned out to be a rhino. You think there's hope for the rest of the West? The West shall rise again. It is a guarantee. Cooking Inferno. Not all sea stars. The crown of thorns is the worst. Well, yeah, some of them are worse than others. But there's a disease that's starting to decimate their populations. I was thinking, it wasn't that many years ago that I read an article talking about how the proliferation of starfish was endangering coral reefs, and environmentalists were like fraying their hair over the issue. So when I read this, I'm like, oh, well, I guess problem solved. Just destroy 99% of their population. Who cares? I don't even think you can eat starfish. You could probably try, but I don't know. Can anyone tell me, is there any way to eat starfish? Tarred and feathered. Starfish is a slang term for a butthole. Only if it's a chocolate starfish. Oh, the Wanderer. Styx, you missed my super chat. Sorry about that. Try to get to it. Styx, reveal yourself. I think the time draws near. I just told you who I am. My name is Lucifer. Please take my hand. I'll be talking about that more in the future. There's a difference between the devil, Satan, and Lucifer within common parlance and colloquial termage. Tarred and feathered. Better to eat fish sticks than starfish. I love fish sticks. How do you take your fish sticks, for those of you that actually eat them? Because one thing I cannot stand is fish sticks that are underdone. I like them to be browned. I like them to be crispy. If they're not, I will not eat them. Same with like, curly fries and shit like that. I want all of these baked and fried goods. I want them to be a little bit on the dry side, and they must be crispy. Thank you, Snakes Bleed Red. I agree with you completely. Underdone fish sticks should be a crime. I agree completely. Yeah, I like mine a little bit brown. I would rather them be a little bit overdone than underdone, honestly. And then I will always eat them with ketchup. that's something that more people will debate about. Seems like most people understand that fish sticks must be crispy. They don't technically have to be browned. There are ways to cook them so that they don't brown, but they're still, firm and crispy. But just fucking cook them crispy. Zippy, yes, I received your letter yesterday about the time the doorknob broke. When you asked about how I was doing, was that some kind of joke? I don't know what you mean. Yeah, the doorknob did break the other day, locking me in the bathroom. That was not pleasant. Senor John, I do know Black Sabbath, actually. I've got one of their albums on vinyl in the other room. Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, nothing more to do. Carson, you like fish sticks? You are a gay fish. Well, if it makes me a gay fish for enjoying a huge pile of fish sticks slathered in ketchup, then I guess I'm a gay fish. I don't understand how anyone could dislike fish sticks, actually. Like, how? You know that I'm a gay fish. Good song, by the way. That was a hysterical parody. Mike the Womp, doorknob breaking is Bob Dylan lyrics. Oh, I didn't know. I'd never heard of it, actually. Cooking Inferno, Sticks doesn't like underdone limp fish sticks. I mean sticks. Yeah, some things, like, I had scrambled eggs the other day, and they were made perfectly. Scrambled eggs, if they're underdone and they're still, like, wet, that ain't gonna work for me, dude. I'll eat them, but I'm not gonna enjoy them. If they're browned, if they get to the point where they're getting dry, again, I'll eat them, but it's not gonna do it for me. Somewhere in the middle, there is a happy medium. This is like the Midgard of scrambled eggs. And that's the way that I cook them. Thankfully, most of the other people that I'm around cook them about the same way. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to eat them. Like, I mean, you'd still eat them, but you wouldn't enjoy them as much, rather. Taco Woman Sandy Ravage, could you talk about your Epstein Russiagate post? Yes, the post that I made this morning. I believe that Donald Trump is basically here. I'll refer to the post verbatim before I get into it. I'll refer to the post verbatim. I have a theory, and I happen to think that it's right. Otherwise, I wouldn't espouse it at all. Here's my post. I just had a eureka moment this morning. The reason the Trump admin is merely wheedling and titillating with both Epstein and Russiagate releases is to say, back off or else we have the dirt, scumbag, to a number of adversaries implicated in one or both. I agree with this. What I think is that the Trump administration realizes several things. Number one, they cannot directly prosecute the people on the Epstein list until a very thorough investigation is done. That's for legal purposes. So they can't touch them at the moment. Number two, they realize that some of these people have an incredible amount of political power and so forth. They may skate or something like that. That's number two. Number three, therefore, the best thing to do is to tell them to back the fuck off and continue with the investigation. Say, look, we know where the bodies are buried. We know your dirt. We know your secrets. We've got everything, basically. So you might want to shut the fuck up. And that, I believe, is what the Donald Trump administration is doing to these people. I believe there will be justice, at least in some of these cases. While I wish that we could pull them all in Brotherhood of the Wolf style and just put them to the musket, That's not realistic. It's not going to happen. The best thing that Donald Trump can do is hold it over their heads, get them out of the way. Here's a little secret here. Look at the people who have been involved with, especially left-wing, but sometimes right-wing, politics, who might have gone to Epstein Island. See which ones are talking a lot less than usual. There's your implication. That's all you have to know. Oh, somebody's gone radio silent for the last couple of months. And I wonder if there's a reason for that. These things happen for a reason. So just look into that, and you'll basically be getting a read on who actually went to Epstein Island, honestly. Carson, don't forget that if you release the list publicly, it is impermissible as evidence in court. Exactly. And I've tried to explain this. Thank you for bringing it up. You can't release the Epstein list. You can investigate behind closed doors. You can make insinuations. You can do all sorts of things. But if the list is released, number one thing that happens, everyone on the list lawyers up. Number two thing that happens is that everyone on the list says, well, you're not allowed to admit this into a court of law at all. It was released publicly by the president himself. Well, you can't use that in your prosecution. That would be prejudicing a jury. Cooking Inferno. Jesus, clankers need an enema. Let's just ignore the news and give Stick shit. I realize that not everything that Trump is doing is correct. Not everything that Trump is doing is right. Not everything that Trump is doing is wise. But by and large, can you imagine if the last administration was still in power? What kind of state we'd be in? I have a feeling it'd be a problem. The Wanderer. Trump is a pedo. No, Trump's not a pedophile. He likes to womanize, though. There's definitely that. If he's pretending to be an evangelical at any time, I'm going to laugh my ass off. He likes big tits. There's nothing wrong with them, by the way. No, he's not into kids. I never understood why the liberals decided to trot that line out and run with it. Because it never really worked. And they were trying to say that because Trump held pageants like 30 years ago that he was an automatic pedophile or something like that. And it never made any sense. Like, the line never worked. But they kept with it for years. Focus group says, what the fuck are you talking about? But you'd still go with it. I never understood that. They're still going with the Green New Deal, actually. It's been years. What the hell are you doing? Trump is more interested in, like, gigantic titty or something like that. That's the sort of thing that he's into. Cooking Inferno. Big tits, big tits, big tits. Snakes bleed red. Pervs for curves? Personally, I don't care. As long as it's all consensual and the person is an adult, it's all good. I appear to be getting some phone vibrations. Maybe I'll stuff it in my crotch or something like that. Let me check this really quickly. Okay, I'll take care of that later. This happens all the time. I need to get a work phone. One that's wired. One of those old school phones, the ones with the little squiggly cords attached to them. That'd be funny. Joe, why is America the coolest country in the world? Well, we've got Moon Man. That's one thing. Also wearing it, so, Inferno obsessed with tits. Yeah, Tenerife and Snake's Bleed Red and Tarred and Feathered and all of the other original gangsta niggas. Jeff Garman. I use landline almost exclusively. I haven't actually seen a person use a landline in years. I would like to use one. I find that more fun because then you can disconnect yourself from the phone and go out and like hike, gather berries, go gardening, whatever, and nobody can reach you. That's the whole way to do it. Cooking Inferno, big titty trap house now calling you sticks. RCW. Are ye on the grog, me hearty? No, no grog at the moment, sadly. Yeah, I haven't seen anyone use a landline in a very long time. Everyone's just glued to their smartphones. It's like when I talked about the use of phones in schools this morning. I said, yeah, there are problems with it. Like kids will get distracted and stuff, but they're going to distract themselves anyway. Like there's nothing that you can do about it. Try and correct the youth. See what happens. The smart ones, like me, will completely bypass that. And we'll just say, fuck you. And we'll just rebel against the system. Sometimes getting expelled in the process. And the ones that you don't need to correct, because they're already fucking morons, they'll just go along with it. Oh, then that works. Blocky the Ram. I am a mentally ill puppeteer, and it's been a hard road. Should I keep pushing it to the limit? I need a boost or my rockets will explode. Push It to the Limit, by the way, good song from Scarface. Yeah, always push it to the limit. Do as best you can. Tell people to screw off and stand down. Cooking Inferno. Ho, not how. Big titty trap house. Ho, calling you sticks. Oh, I get it. I got them hoes, my man. Flocky the Ram. You know Scarface. That's awesome. You are a real one. I love Redemption song. Yeah. Yeah, Push It to the Limit. I remember hearing that in the GTA 3 soundtrack first, before I ever saw the movie, actually. I'm like, wow, this song is pretty good. So then I looked it up online, found out where it was from, and then I got the game. But I got Vice City first. Dennis Rodriguez. Any thoughts on upcoming tariff deadline? You're the best. Thank you. I think that the tariffs, mainly what Donald Trump is trying to do, is say, look, we can either tariff the shit out of you and wreck your economy because ours is so much larger, or you can pay a small fee in order to do business with us, to allow our businesses to do business with you. That's the only thing that he's doing. There's nothing draconian about this or anything bizarre. This has been done, by the way, at times by other presidents. I noticed the left-wing media that says that he's being insane by doing this had to, the other day, put out an article saying, well, his tariffs are kind of sort of working. He's got a strategy this time, and stuff like that. I reported on this. It was 2 days ago. Yeah, damn right he has a strategy. I told him what the strategy was 6 months ago. The whole strategy is to back other countries down. He doesn't actually want to use significant tariffs. He wants free trade. But the other countries haven't wanted it. They've been imposing those tariffs on our nation, sometimes for decades. sometimes even longer than that. All he's doing is saying, okay, we're going to reciprocate. What the hell is wrong with that? If another country says, we're going to put a 15% tariff on lumber from your country, well, then you slap a 15% tariff on lumber from their country. Isn't that now fair trade? It's at least sensible trade. Now, the goal is that neither of you tariffs one another at all. And I pointed out there is one consideration to be made. And on this, Donald Trump has done a good job with regards to the tariffs, generally speaking. There is one consideration, though. In some cases, you'll have a country that really only has one export. They call it a banana republic. It doesn't have to be bananas, though. Maybe their country's economy, 80% of their throughput is literally nothing than oil. Okay, you probably don't want to tariff their oil. You're going to collapse their country if you do so. That makes sense. But for many of these countries in parts of Western Europe, Canada, Mexico, Latin America, and so forth, they have diversified economies. So they're not simply exporting just one thing. They're exporting dozens and dozens of things, and that's the bulk of their economy. It is perfectly acceptable, therefore, because you're not going to collapse their economy by imposing a tariff. It's perfectly acceptable to make a reciprocal tariff on one or more goods. They will still be able to make ends meet. You're making a little bit more money. You're sheltering U.S. businesses. You're encouraging foreign investment. What's wrong with this? I fail to see the problem. Liberals would say, oh my God, it's the end of the world. I'm like, yeah, no, that's not the way that economics works. Carson, even progressive darling FDR did reciprocating tariffs. Yes, which is something that needs to be pointed out over and over again against the leftoids. Also, he made concentration camps and firebombed various cities in civilian areas, but FDR was a real cold bastard. I style myself a pirate, but I like to think of myself as a virtuous one. FDR had no virtue to him at all. That dude was insane. Anyways, I'm going to go offline. I have a few shots in the locker for tomorrow's docket. Neck Romancer. I'm white-pilled that you talk about how tyrannical Lincoln was. More people ought to know. Yeah, Lincoln and FDR. Two of the so-called greatest U.S. presidents. Also two of the most tyrannical. It's funny how people don't understand history. Literally at all. But yeah, I'm going to go offline. And I'll be back tomorrow with more news, I think. At the very least, I'll do my one-off videos. But I need to eat something at some point. And now everyone made me hungry for fish sticks. So I may have to eat some of those later, honestly. That's about all. Peace out.